Fantastic. So it looks like everyone can hear and see us now that we've gotten things started. All right, well, welcome everybody. We apologize for that little glitch that we just experienced. We're glad that everyone has come and joined us. Today our presentation is going to be about strategic planning, and you should be able to see the PowerPoint cover sheet, which I'm hoping everyone can, and you should be able to hear Kathy, and if not, please feel free to chat in the chat box and let us know, and I will do everything I can to get everyone back up to speed. So I'm going to turn things over to Aegon Leadership's President and Senior Consultant, Kathy Leinbach.
Thank you, Lauren, and welcome everyone to December 1st, the first day of the Christmas season and of the last day of the month, or the last month of the year. Strategic planning is a great topic to be considering at this point because it is time to start planning for a wonderful 2015. And the strategic plan is going to be most effective if there are a lot of perspectives in the planning process, so that the plan that you develop for your organization is really meaningful for everybody that has to help carry that plan out. The objectives for our session today is that you'll be familiar with the process for setting strategic organizational goals, for aligning team members with the organization's goals, and for monitoring progress and holding team members accountable. I want to start by just summarizing 2 requirements for organizational success. It's important that people engage their brains, that the smart side of human capital is involved for an organization to be successful. And it's also important that people engage their hearts and that their hearts are nurtured so that there's a healthy atmosphere in the organization. Let's just take a look at some of the things that are involved in SMART and healthy. SMART includes budgeting, having a strategic plan, having an operating plan, having quality products and services. Healthy includes things like trusting relationships, constructive conflict, appreciation of people, and quality communication. You'll see that one of the SMART items and 2 of the healthy items are bolded. Strategic planning, trusting relationships, and quality communication are all outcomes from an engaging strategic planning process. We believe that strategic planning is an ongoing process. There may be a strategic plan retreat annually, but throughout the year, it is often necessary to tweak the goals as conditions in the environment in which your organization operates change. Strategic planning is also an attitude, believing that the organization can be shaped. We can proactively move forward to help our organization be what we'd love it to be. We don't just have to sit passively getting frustrated, letting the world impose its expectations on our organization. Completing a strategic plan is being proactive towards the future. And strategic planning is a tool for defining what the organization is going to do and for enrolling its people with enthusiasm towards achieving that plan. Take a look at this diagram. This illustrates that when we're doing strategic planning, we have to think about the consequences. And that's why we want to plan for the organization rather than just people making independent decisions about how to move forward. Because when we don't think about the long-term implications of our decisions, sometimes we can get ourselves into a trap that is very difficult or sometimes impossible to get ourselves out of. So as we strategic plan, We want to be defining where we want the organization to be so we can be carefully watering and feeding the organization to achieve our desired results and not to position ourselves for unforeseen problems. Strategic planning ideally starts with defining the future. Leaders and others in the organization can make contributions about what the ideal future would be for this organization. Where do we really want to be? Second, we assess our present reality. Sometimes organizations start by assessing their current reality, and then they think about defining goals for the future. We encourage defining the future first, because if we get together for a strategic planning retreat and we spend the morning really talking about where we are now, there are going to be lots of challenges and bottlenecks in our mind. And then when we talk about future goals, there's a tendency that we say, well, yes, we would love as a nonprofit to have $2 million of grants, but we know that there's this limit and this limit and this limit, and all the organizations we used to get grants from are cutting back. We only had $1 million of grants this year. Yeah, there's no way we can get $2 million of grants for next year. In fact, because of all the limitations that our usual funders are alerting us to, we're probably going to be lucky to get $1 million of grants. So the future is that we don't fall below $1 million. That's the goal we end up articulating in our strategic plan. Even though we know that $1 million of grant funding won't help us achieve our dreams, won't help us serve the community as well as we would love to serve them. So when we define the preferred future first, it puts our thinking about our present reality on the back burner for a while, and we can truly dream, what if this? What if that? Oh, maybe we could. So first of all, we want to define the preferred reality. We want to define the preferred future, sorry. Then we want to come back and assess the present reality. What are our strengths and weaknesses? What are the opportunities available to us? Now, we're going to find there's a gap. And the third stage of strategic planning is determining how to close that gap. So once we've defined where we'd love to be, and we've defined where we currently are, then comes the hard thinking of strategic planning. How can we start closing that gap? Strategic planning is usually working on about a 3-year time frame. So the closing the gap in this planning phase would be, what things would we like to accomplish in the next 3 years? What can we start tackling to close the gap, to reduce the gap between our present and our future desire? So the strategic planning model that I use is one where we define that vision, where we'd love to be. What is the bright, sunny day for your organization? And then we review weaknesses, threats, barriers. We see all the challenges that we're having to face. And then we define, a possible rate of goal achievement. Here's progress we can make. But maybe we could also make this level of progress. So without doing strategic planning, thinking ahead, we are just going to get over the peaks of those barriers and threats. Maybe. But by doing a great job of strategic planning, we can position ourselves to soar above those weaknesses, threats, and barriers. That's the goal that I have when I work with an organization and facilitate them through the thinking process of strategic planning. It is where we want to be, where we are now, and how will we close the gap. An organizational development model developed by Pat Lencioni is the 4 disciplines of a healthy organization. It says that we need to build and maintain a cohesive leadership team. We need the leaders to be able to work together really well. Then we have to create organizational clarity so that all the leaders know where they're trying to head the organization. We have to over-communicate clarity to everyone in the organization. The reason I say over-communicate is once leaders have requested that staff do something once or twice, there's a tendency for them to expect staff to go forward and do it. But research has shown that it actually takes 7 to 17 exposures to that direction for 85% of people to be prepared to implement something differently than they've already been doing it. The 4th discipline of a healthy organization is reinforcing clarity through human systems. So for an organization to be healthy and productive, all 4 of these disciplines of a healthy organization have to be in place. Strategic planning is a focus on creating organizational clarity. If this leadership team can't be clear what they expect the organization to accomplish, then they aren't going to be communicating a consistent goal to the rest of the organization. And most of the people in the organization are not going to be healthily moving forward to achieve those goals. So let's take a look at where we want to be. And where we want to be is greatly influenced by our perspective. Take a look at that diagram, and I would like you to type in the chat box what you see. What is that a picture of? Please type in the chat box what you see. Now, what do you see? Most people will see a frog in the first picture and a horse in the second picture. That is the very same picture, just with a 90-degree rotation. And that's what we have to do with our minds when we're doing strategic planning for an organization. Because if we keep thinking and doing what we've always been thinking and doing about our organization, we're going to get the same results. We need to think differently. We need to see the potential of the organization being different, and we need to see the methods that the organization and its people will use being different if we're going to get different results. So I just encourage you that whenever you do a strategic plan, you have to come at that process with a different mindset. That's one of the reasons that we really encourage people to do an off-site retreat, so that they're not even in the facility that they usually work in. So their mind is a little bit freer to break away and think of something different. The first part of defining the future is to define the vision statement for the organization. The vision is what you see in the future. It's a snapshot of the future. You'd like to be able to take an organization's annual report in 3 years' time. What would you like to be mentioned in there as the organization's current situation? Its financial situation, its revenue, the number of people it serves, the goals that it has achieved. Now, a vision statement has this long list of characteristics. It's written. It's a snapshot of the desired future. It's stated in present tense. If we state the vision statement in present tense, there's much more urgency in our brain and our heart for us to move towards getting there. When we say, our vision is to someday perhaps do da-da, there's no urgency. It's like, well, yeah, if we get there, we get there. We don't, we don't. But if we say our vision statement is the best nonprofit in the state, that's not precise enough, but, you know, organization A is the best nonprofit in the state. And you think, yeah, we sure aren't, but oh, we'd love to be. Then post on your wall, put at everyone's desk. Our organization is the best nonprofit in the state. Or our boutique retail outlet attracts buyers from a 10-state radius. Right now, you've got a few, like 1% maybe of your buyers are from adjacent states, neighboring states, but 10 states? Oh, yes, that means we're known, and word of mouth is working really well, and people are coming to get our unique wares. So vision statement in the present tense will create more of an urgency in the people within the organization, and you'll make much more progress towards that vision. Vision statement should be easy to understand. Don't use complicated words. Don't use vocabulary that the people that you want to understand this vision aren't familiar with. It should be short and memorable. It's really nice if the vision statement can be 5 to 10 words so that everyone that works there can remember it. Sometimes vision statements are put on promotional pens. Sometimes they're put at the bottom of letterhead. They have to be short for the readers to actually read them and consider them. Billboard advertising or business card advertising, if the vision statement is short, it can be used as a PR tool. The vision statement should motivate people to act, and down 2 points, appeals to the heart. There should be some emotional engagement for people. And vision statements can provide a focus beyond the organization. Organizations need to decide, is their vision statement going to be about their organization, such as we attract buyers from a 10-state area, or is the vision statement going to be beyond the organization? And we serve families' health care needs. Or all families in our region have access to affordable health care. One hospital may say, you know, that's the vision we have for the state of Ohio. All families have access to affordable health care. Wow, that may be the vision that Obama sees with the Affordable Care Act. Now, one hospital or one medical center may say, we're going to contribute to that vision that is bigger than us. So the vision is either a statement of what you want to be a reality in a region or a country or the globe. Apparently Bill Gates has a vision of a computer in every household on the globe. That is beyond what his organization can impact. It requires loads of people in the technology industry working together. But he would like that their company is moving forward towards that, to make a contribution, the primary contribution, to every household on the globe having a computer. If the focus was just for one organization, it would be, we are the primary supplier of this type of product. And then the vision statement is to be big picture. It's to be sort of a 20-year out there picture. and it may never be fully achievable. So the vision isn't intended to be something that you can picture really happening. You may feel, well, this is what I'd love it to be. That's my dream. But I know there are constraints in the world that won't let that ever happen. That's okay. It's okay if the vision statement is never fully achievable. It's important for the vision statement to be so big, so significant, that it requires people to really get engaged, get a lot accomplished. It requires that they see there's a big chasm that they have to bridge so that they're motivated to make a contribution to this really significant thing, to make progress towards this dream. So a vision statement is a written snapshot of the desired future out 20 years, ideally, that is short and easy to understand and remember. The Herman Miller Furniture Company vision statement is, we define and solve problems of the working and healing environments to improve the quality of our customers' lives and become their reference point for quality and service. So they're wanting to continually have additional products that help customers' lives to be improved. Right now, they may do some of that, but it may not be what their reputation is currently. They want that to be their reputation. Now, mission statements describe what the organization is doing. So a vision statement is the target, where the organization is trying to get to. A mission statement is how it's going to get there. It again needs to be short and memorable. It needs to use powerful action words because it's defining how the organization is going to move towards the vision. A mission statement declares what will be done and who will be served, and again, written down where everyone can see it. Here are some samples. 3M's mission is to solve unsolved problems innovatively. Their goal is that 50% of their gross revenue in 2015 will be from products that didn't exist 5 years earlier. Hewlett-Packard's mission to make technical contributions for the advancement of humanity. So not just printers or computers, but whatever technical contributions can advance humanity. Disney's mission to make people happy. So vision is the destination, a snapshot of the desired future worded in the present tense. Mission is the action statement. What's being done for whom to move closer to the vision? Another part of defining the future is, who are the owners of the organization? And if it's a nonprofit, the owners are the residents of the state, because it's state government that's allowed a nonprofit to be created. But as you're doing strategic planning, you may want to look at the residents of the community, your service area. And for a for-profit company, owners are the people who own stock in the company. You also need to define your customers. Who are you selling to? Who are you providing services directly to? Be clear on that, because it's surprising how often people within an organization don't agree on this. And then what are the products and services that you provide now? What would you like the products and services to be 3 years out? Part of the business definition to really explain where you want the organization to be 3 years down the road or 5 to 20 years down the road. Great strategic plans also include a definition of values. What are the essential and enduring tenets, the general guiding principles? For Disney, it includes fun and safety. For Specialty companies, it may include unique products and exceptional customer service. What are the things we want everyone focused on? Okay? For a lot of organizations, it is honesty and integrity. But for the mafia, it's loyalty. So what are the guiding principles that are really essential that everyone that's involved with your organization must buy in to living these principles or values? This then helps you in selecting additional staff, because you don't hire people who don't have the value set that is the underpinning of your organization moving through towards its vision. Yeah, Walt Disney, creativity and imagination, wholesomeness, fanatical attention to detail is another Walt Disney value. Okay. In the strategic planning process, who participates in defining where you want to be? I'm going to step back just a moment and explain what I see as the difference between strategic plans and business plans or operating plans or implementing plans. Operating and implementing plans are about how you achieve the goals. Those really make sense for senior staff to be heavily involved in putting together, because the senior staff are in charge of day-to-day operations of the organization. However, the strategic plan is before that. The strategic plan is about defining the end result. So the strategic plan defines the vision and defines the big picture goals. That's the destination. The operating and implementing plan are mission action plans. How are we going to go about our work to move towards that destination, to achieve the vision? So the mission definition, how you're going to achieve the mission, operating and implementing plans, are senior staff purview. However, the board's job is to direct the organization, to indicate where the organization should be going in the future. So the board needs to be very heavily involved in strategic planning. I suggest, and Richard Chait's book, Governance as Leadership, suggests that board members should be directing the organization's future by defining the strategic plan. The board should be starting with a blank sheet to develop the strategic plan, because the board's job is to be the community input. It's to be people that are outside of the everyday walls of the organization, considering how can this organization serve this community. They're helping the organization to be walking the right road, to be heading in the right direction, heading for the right stars. And sometimes when we're inside an organization, we've got such a preconceived notion of what we can be excellent at that we aren't so open to change, even if the community's changing. Even if there's a huge area of opportunity for us, we don't see it because we're thinking more operationally and implementation oriented, and we don't look from a blank screen. So boards should be the leaders. They should be providing ideas, really using their brain power for defining where the future of the organization is. Now, board members, a handful, 6, 10 board members, don't have very many perspectives. So they can do a much better job of developing a strategic plan if they have diverse perspectives available. So we encourage that that the senior staff is at the retreat, so that there can be dialogue between board members and senior staff. so that they get the high-end operational perspective as well as the community input, what are the possibilities perspective. We also encourage organizations to do advance surveys, giving perhaps all of the staff the chance to answer a few questions about the organization's future and the organization's present strengths and weaknesses. And some organizations choose to have funding agencies if they are nonprofits, to have customers if they're for-profits, to have some industry stakeholders answer a pre-strategic planning survey. And then that gives lots of data for the board members and senior staff that are at a strategic planning retreat to refer to so that they're making decisions based on very broad perspective. Some organizations get representation all the way down the organization. They'll have a couple of people at entry level, couple of people first-line supervisors, and on up for one day of strategic planning retreat, so that they get lots of different perspectives. Oh, I just indicated how input can be obtained by some people more than the board attending the workshop and by doing advanced surveys. Some organizations also do focus groups to get feedback from some stakeholder groups that may not respond to a survey. Now, how does this process for defining the future of the organization contribute to organizational health? When people are asked to provide their input, they feel that they matter. They know that a strategic plan is being developed. They're clued in. And when the board and senior staff work together for 1 to 2 days to define a strategic plan, they communicate with each other. They're listening to each other. They're vocalizing the thoughts in their brain. And they become open to each other. They build trust with each other. And then throughout the next 3 years, when they're implementing the plan, they're going to be much more ready for open dialogue. They're going to be ready for questions about, well, how do we tweak this? Oh, this didn't do so well. Oh, this did better than expected. Thank you so much for your efforts. And what things contributed to that? Can we leverage those strengths, those areas of effectiveness more? Many people say that it's not the plan, it's not the outcome from a strategic planning session that's actually the best work of the session. It's the relationships that were built in the process. So strategic planning can really help us. It can even help us a little bit with human systems by opening lines of communication in the organization. Now, how do we determine where we are now? Current reality can be assessed by performance figures. It can be assessed by strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats identification, and by the consideration of trends. Now, performance figures includes what's our financial situation, what's our customer number, what's our average sale. It can be comparing our organization to others in the industry, can be comparing our organization to previous year performance, to current year goals. And SWOT and trends are not so objective, they're much more subjective, but they're very informative of setting the scene, bringing to the front of everybody's mind where the organization is and what its business environment is. We need to talk about the present to know where we need to move from, how we will close the gap. Now, just as I showed you the frog and horse diagrams, Albert Einstein said, "The world we have now is a result of thinking we have done thus far. We cannot solve problems at the same level of thinking at which we created them." So, once we have got our desired future defined, that big dream for the organization, and come back and got grounded by reviewing our current reality, then we need to think about the major issues, challenges, or gaps that need to be dealt with to move forward. We need to identify those, and just brainstorming will bring lots of ideas forward. Now, once we've got 1, 2, 3 flip chart sheets full of a list of major issues to overcome, we need to narrow them down. We need to think, what are the most important areas to tackle, the most important changes to make in the next 3 to 5 years, so we can address the opportunities and overcome the obstacles, so we can make significant progress towards fulfilling the vision and the mission. Identifying these key result areas, the place where we're really going to focus our change energy. Typically, people have defined 3 to 5 areas in an organization. Some recent reading that I've been doing, you'll see at the bottom I say identify the first 3 to address. Some recent reading has convinced me that we should not be working on more than 3 priorities at a time. Some of the consultants at the Covey-Franklin organization have found that the organizations that they work with that have 1, 2, or 3 priority areas of change for the year, or the 3-year strategic planning cycle period, if they work to focus on these items, they will achieve all of them. However, they've found that if the organization has 4 priorities, that addition of that 1 additional priority stretches their resources so thin that they usually only achieve 1. And some organizations leave that big brainstorm of 20 things and say, okay, great, let's tackle them. But research has found that if people have a list of 10 or more items that they're trying to work on at the same time, they will usually make meaningful progress on none of them. So if your strategic planning initial flush identifies 6, 8, 10 things you want to work on, I strongly encourage you to identify the first 3 that you're going to work on. And then once you've achieved one of those, you can pull another one off that list of 8 or 10. Think about areas of focus. The first year for a new professional sports team, and such as the Lake Erie Crushers that started in my home area a few years ago, what might their key result areas or strategic priorities have been? One may well have been to break even from a cash flow perspective. Another was attendance. Get people coming here. And another one may have been corporate sponsorship. They just needed to get a roll, get things rolling. They might not have had break even as a first-year goal. It might have been building the relationships with corporate sponsors so that they have visibility in the community. We encourage, once people identify the 3 areas that they're going to focus on, that they set a mini vision statement, or they define their aim. What are they aiming for with that key result area? So the Lake Erie Crushers, for example, may have been aiming for fully sponsored outfield boards in the stadium. Related to attendance, their aim might have been to be the premier summer entertainment destination in the West Cleveland, Lorain County area. That wasn't measurable, but it gave a general indication. So that strategic aim is just to give a direction, give a feel for why that is a priority, for how you may end up measuring that item being achieved. Then you have to move to indicators of success, measuring results. So it might be the number of dollars of revenue that they generated from their outfield board ads that they want to measure. They may want to measure the total number of tickets sold. They might want to measure the average number of tickets sold. So there's ways they can measure the outcomes they're looking for. But it is helpful before you get to measurements to just talk a little bit about why is this a priority? What's the general feel we want? Roughly what do we want to be the outcome we get from focusing on this area of change? And then you also need to go one step further and make it very measurable. So this year, exactly what is our goal? What are we going to measure? So the more objectively the indicator can be defined, the greater chance it will be achieved, and the more easily it can be measured. The aim can be subjective. The indicator of success should be objective. And often indicators of success are highway markers. You have several indicators of success on the pathway to your goal. When you're stating your 3 to 5 year objectives, state clearly what you're going to measure. Set a SMART objective. Be specific, make it measurable. It needs to be achievable. Now we're closing the gap. Closing the gap has to be realistically based. Reach has to be required, though. You have to be doing something more effectively than you did in the past. Because remember, these strategic priorities or key result areas are your areas of change for the organization. So the goal needs to have you do better, reach further than you have in the past. And they need to be time-bound. Some of the markers, the highway markers that you have, will be 3 or 6 month goals. Some will be 1 month goals. The biggest one will be a 3 to 5 year goal. So likewise, your 1 year goals need to have SMART objectives. How are you going to focus on achieving those goals? Once the strategic plan is developed by the board in conjunction with others, including senior staff, then the senior staff will go and develop action plan, business plan, implementation plan. And a suggestion is that you write the 3 to 5 year goal objective, then you write your 1 year goal, and then the implementation or operating plan will list the actions that will be done to achieve it. Oh, sorry, let me go back there. So you list here the actions that you'll take. Who is the lead person for each action? When should they be starting it? When do they actually start it? When should that task be finished? What was the actual start date? So your plan is the target columns, and as you do them, you write down the actual. This will provide you with a lot of data for future planning. So that's planning to fulfill the goals. The scorecard is about measuring your progress towards those goals. So Most organizations will have some sort of revenue or sales goal. Here's one that said they want 2 new products on the market, and another one that wants a technology upgrade that's working. Ask on a frequent basis when senior management gets together or when department staff gets together, based on what you see at this point, are we on track to achieve the goal? If so, people will give a green rating. Green means good. We're moving forward the way we want. If people think, oh, we're hardly budging, we haven't started, or we're long way from getting rolling, then they give a red. It's like, progress towards this goal is pretty well stopped. Not okay. But if it's in between, if there's been progress on the goal but not enough for you to have confidence the goal's going to be achieved, then people would rate it a yellow. So if there were 4 people came into a progress review meeting, list the goals in one column, give them colored stickers, and ask them to indicate each goal. Do they think progress currently is green, red, or yellow? And then focus most of your progress review meeting time on how to get this one moved forward, how to speed it up, and how to get traction going on this one. This one, spend a minute just reviewing, oh, what's gone well? Oh, great, what's happened that's allowed us to make this wonderful progress? Keep it up, guys, keep it up, okay. So do a little 1-minute celebration on a solid green, but spend most of your meeting time with all of your heads working together on how to overcome the challenges that are limiting progress on the other goals. That meeting update, so that everyone stays focused on the goals and knows what's going on, can be done in 4 different ways. Some organizations meet for a 5-minute stand-up quick daily check-in. What did you get done yesterday, and what are you planning on getting done today? Okay, what about you? What about you? Weekly tactical meetings. Touch base with your team once a week to find out if people have bottlenecks they need help overcoming. Weekly tacticals are a great meeting to do that color coding in. Monthly strategic meetings are, okay, the little ideas we gave you aren't helping you overcome the problems. Let's really take some time and work together and solve those problems. And then the quarterly offsite review, that is suggesting that 4 times a year you look at that strategic plan and you make tweaks. This is where you say, oh, we're not making progress on that goal because none of us think it's very important. And you know, it really isn't, because this and this has happened in the industry, and here's something we need to be working on instead. At a quarterly review, you should then pull the item that is no longer one of your 3 most important changes off of the high priority list and replace it with this new thing that you need to work on. So how does using this engaging, results-oriented approach to strategic planning contribute to building a healthy organization? I would like you to type in something that you see from this approach to strategic planning that could help your organization to build a cohesive, healthy approach. So we're interested in your contributions. Lauren, are you seeing any people type anything in?
As of right now, we don't have any responses quite yet, but people are probably still thinking. And I will let you know when someone responds.
Okay. And we've got 5 minutes left for questions. If anyone has a question, Please feel free to type that in. I'd gladly answer any questions that have popped into your mind as a result of this presentation. Yes, Kristen has indicated the idea of buy-in from many constituents results in successful buy-in. And I agree, Kristen. And yes, it's getting input. And what has been found is that if you ask for input from many people in the strategic planning process, they are much more ready to buy into the final result, even if they don't get a vote on which priorities will be picked. Okay, Heather says, a cohesive message of clarity ensures that all employees are on the same page. They understand how what they do contributes. Okay. And we can send, Kristen's asking, will the PowerPoint be available for download? We can send the PowerPoint out to any that are interested. Is anyone else interested in a copy of the PowerPoint other than Kristen? Just let us know if you are, and we can provide that. Okay, any questions before we wrap up? Okay. Okay, I see other requests for the PowerPoint. Okay. Thank you very much for attending the webinar today, and I wish all of you good results from doing planning in your organization. Any questions that you may have, feel free to give us a call or email us. And Lauren, we have everyone's email address, correct?
I believe we do, indeed, with the registration forms that they filled out. We have their email address.
Okay. So we will get the PowerPoint mailed out this afternoon. I'll just give you our email address. If you don't get the PowerPoint this afternoon, please feel free to email us tomorrow for it. So team@agonleadership.com. And I do see, Heather, your email address here. So long, everyone. It was great to spend this time with you. Best wishes with strategic planning. Did everyone stay on to the end? Just the 4 of them?